democracy, I think that democracy, freedom are universal human values. And even though we might, for our Africanness, try to be protective of ours, I mean, still, when you have a leader who's old and senile, he has no business continuing to be leader. It doesn't matter whether it's Africa or wherever. You know, when you have leaders who, I mean, have problems in terms of thought, you know, they have no business continuing to be in leadership. And especially when you have a population, a continent as youthful as Africa. 60% of the population of Africa is young. And so, I mean, why would you have 80-year-old and 90-year-olds, you know, still, I was going to say they should be home looking after their grandfather, their grandchildren, but I recently became a grandfather myself, so. And so values of democracy are universal, and we need to continue to deepen democracy in the modern world. And so I would say that yes, we're proud of our African heritage, but the values of protecting human rights and freedoms is something that every human being aspires to, and we cannot.
Do you have grandchildren, or are you 80? Please do leave the presidency alone. That's the advice from John Dramani Mahama, former president of Ghana. It is my distinguished pleasure to welcome you viewers to another edition of Good Evening Ghana. Thank you very much for your support always. Tonight we have so much to share with you. If you've seen our flyer, we are talking about presidential primaries and who is going to lead the country and who are the parents. Now, 2024's election is the main election in the Fourth Republic where running mate has become so crucial. I told you that before after the 2020 election, that in 2024 we're going to have an election where everything is going to be about running mate. And I'm going to suggest to the Electoral Commission something they do in America. You know, those of you who vote in America, you know what I'm talking about. I don't vote in America, but I just looked at the ballot paper. The American ballot paper has the presidential candidate's photograph, and it also has the running mate's photograph for some reason. That's how they do it over there. We don't do it like that here. But it looks like in 2024, we might just have to do that, shouldn't we? Tonight is also Thursday Casual. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the show. We have prepared a montage for Sir Kwame Despite's birthday, and all of you are celebrating your birthday today. Happy birthday. Okay, 14 minutes past the top of that, 9 o'clock. I'm going to start straight away with a breaking story from the NPP headquarters. The National Council of the New Patriotic Party hours ago completed a meeting. Or did they actually complete? Well, they completed a meeting with an inconclusive conclusion. Let's get onto the touch screen and deal with that. Or do you have a commercial break? I think we do, but first let's deal with the MPP story. Good evening, welcome to the show. All right, so here we are, and I have on the touch screen some important men. And I'm going to talk about why they are important. Forgive me if I have to stray and talk about Johnson Asido Katia. I won't, but maybe I will. All right, so here we go. President Akufo Addo is here. Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia, Mr. Steven Intim, and Justin Kodia. Now, these four men are very important because news breaking out of Alisa Hotel, which is just a walking distance from where I'm standing here, is that the New Patriotic Party's National Council, and bring in Johnson Asido Nkatia, you see, because the release identified a group that is doing the submissions, and they are called the National Council. So that's the group that met at Alisa, the National Council of the New Patriotic Party, and it's made up of certain people. Now, the council could not agree on the dates for the event. Why couldn't they agree? Because they're divided on two angles. All right, the NPP constitution is clear on something. It says that when the party is in power, the flag bearer is elected 24 hours, not later than 24 hours to the event. I've been told that it's in Articles 11 and 12 of the NPP Constitution. Article 11 talks about the parliamentary candidates, and Article 12 talks about the presidential candidates. Now, a presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party, according to their constitution, ought to be selected not later than 24 months to the main event. The main event is 7 December 2024. 24 months to that is 7 December 2023. Is a view of some in the MPP. It is believed that those people close to Nana Akufo-Addo are holding this position. Their position is that let's leave the constitution as it is. Let's wait until December before we elect our flag bearer. Let's not be in a hurry. We are in government and our focus is to turn around this economy. Our focus is to secure the buy-in of individual bondholders. Our focus is to finish the IMF program. Our focus is to raise some money from Abu Dhabi and elsewhere. This evening, Joy FM Business News reported that the government of Ghana has secured over $1 billion in investment that we made on our oil money and all of that. So those who are making this argument is that we need to focus in this 2023, have 12 clear months of paying attention to the government. We don't have to have an early Congress. Some people are suggesting August. Why do you want to do a Congress in August? We have problems to solve. The people of Ghana have given us a mandate, and we're going to ask them to renew that mandate. Let us therefore make sure that we have sweetened the mandate that the people of Ghana gave us before we go back to them and say we have a new flag bearer. That's the view that is being put across by some people. Okay, they gave me the law. They'll put the law back and I'll go to it. The other group of people are saying that, look, we have a difficult election to win. We're asking for a third term. It's going to be very difficult. It is important that the Ghanaian people know who our flag bearer is so that we can campaign and help them to make the decision in our favor. We don't have to wait and make the decision when the Ghanaian people have decided that they're not going to vote anybody MPP. Let's not let the Ghanaian people get to that place where they make a decision that we don't want anything MPP before they see our flag bearer. Let us show them our flag bearer and use that flag bearer to show them that what the milestone MPP has chalked with Akufo-Addo is significant, but this flag bearer is going to take you further, and he's better than John Mahama. So that's the two arguments that is holding sway in the MPP administration. Let's see the laws if they are ready very quickly, and then we can deal with it. Okay, so the law is here. Article 11 of the new Patriotic Party Constitution says that parliamentary candidates shall be elected at least 12 months before the national general election. For the avoidance of doubt, the National Executive Committee shall have the power to determine separate dates for elections in constituency where the party has sitting members of parliament. This is very interesting, and this I have to applaud the MPP. This article shows that they were thinking, because they gave a blanket 12 months, then they clarified it and said, for the avoidance of doubt, the National Executive Committee shall have the power to determine separate dates for elections in constituencies where the party has certain MPs. So they are making a distinction between what they call in political parlance orphan constituencies and holding constituencies. That's how they call it in political parlance. Orphan constituencies are the ones that they don't have, the holding is the one that they have. So when you come here in Article 12, it says that when the party is in government, the election of a presidential candidate shall be held not later than 11 months. Actually, I said 12. 11 months before the national general election. This is very clear. 11 months takes us, is it not November? December to December, is it 11? It's 11 November. It's a cameraman who is nodding. I'm expecting the graduates to tell me something. What? 11 months? When is it? Yes, please. Okay, sorry about that. The cameraman is the one who was telling me that it's 11 months. The graduates were looking at me. All right. So 11 months will be November. So it's not 7 December anymore. I said 7 November 23. 7 November 23, this should occur. All right. So that's what the MPP is dealing with right now. Where are the photographs of the men? Okay. So I wanted to start with that breaking story before we get into our main stories tonight. President John Dramani Mahama is talking about age. Is he talking about Akufo? He's talking about Dr. Dufo. All right, so I end the story with these men. They have a lot on their shoulders. It's interesting to have Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia in the mix, isn't it? Because he's a candidate for the job. It is about, he's interested in the dates that they're going to set up. He also happens to be vice president, and therefore is an important member of the National Executive Committee. Is it good or bad? Is it advantage or disadvantage? I don't know. But he's there. President Akufo-Addo is not running anymore. He's not part of the contest. Stephen Intim is the chairman of the party. He's leading this. Justin Kodua is the one that a lot of the youth in the party are looking up to make right decisions. Good luck to all of them. That's the end of the first story. And it's 21 minutes past 9 o'clock. Today is the birthday of Osei Kwame Despite, and we put up a montage to celebrate him. Osei Kwame Despite, here it is.
I
Sometimes when we go past 11 is what we have for tonight. Okay, so I'm going to go through it. So we have a survey that I'm sure you've heard about, published by some people. I'll show you who they are. And they had polled 197,000 people in 90 polling stations of 275 polling stations where the NPP flag bearership contest will be occurring. They have a detailed research analysis that shows that Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia is in the lead as far as polling station executives are concerned, if the survey is anything to go by. I'll share with you the survey details and then we can interrogate it. Next, after that, I will come to the story of the Attorney General. And we always hear these stories about how government's judgment debt is killing us and is hanging over us. We have a positive story tonight where the Attorney General was able to, by the application of legal arguments, save Ghana some $55 million of what could have been a looming judgment debt. And then I will come to the story of the parents. The parents that we are hearing very interesting parents from the stable of John Mahama. Things are also changing. It may not be Jenna or Pokwa Jiman anymore. Everyone wants to win 2024. So all the brains are talking and they are discussing. I'm going to show you the parents of what they are telling John Mahama to do now. One of them even includes John Mahama and Alex Segbe. I'll show you. One of them includes John Mahama and the police man Kofi Boachi, COP Kofi Boachi as well. Because his people are thinking that, look, if you have to win 2024, you have to do certain things differently. And we now know that the NPP wants to break the 8, so they have to do something dramatically different because nobody has broken the 8. NDC want to bring back a former president. They have to do something dramatically different. Nobody has brought back a former president. So both parties are seeking to do something novel. Where will the Ghanaian people swing? I don't know. But I'm going to show you why both parties are taking this novelty and this bridge crossing very, very important. And so because of that, permutations are coming in. 2024 is going to be the election where running mate is probably more important than the candidate himself. It's looking like that running mate situation, choice of running mate is becoming far more important than the candidate himself. And then before I do that though, I will walk you through the story of Ghana's running mates. The first one was 1979, of course, and what has happened since then, and then we can have a good show. So this is our own research analysis that we are presenting to you tonight. I get very excited when we are presenting something new. It's not just something in the news that we picked up, but something that we have researched, put together, and we are sharing our viewers. That's how I like our program to be all the time. But we don't get it like that all the time. Let me flip back and begin the story with the Attorney General. Sorry about this. I want to begin the story with the Attorney General. So this one is the survey. No, I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me start with the Attorney General story, get that out of the way, and then deal with all the political stories. So there was a matter that came before Parliament Appointment Committee. During the vetting in 2021, two ministers appeared, many ministers appeared, but this matter was about two ministers. The Minister for Roads Designate, Honorable Kwesi Amoakwata, and the Minister for National Security Designate, Honorable Albert Kandapa. Both of them were asked these questions at the Appointment Committee hearings. Now, it is about a contract. Very interesting. There was all suggestions of corruption and all of that. It's about a contract. A contract had been issued by the Minister for Roads, Kwesi Amoakwata. It had been terminated by the government, and it was sort of reissued under now the auspices of the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa. Now, the company against whom the termination was made had told parliamentarians and asked them these questions because we are preparing to sue Ghana. It was a Chinese company, and therefore the diplomatic relations between Ghana and China was sort of threatened. Here is Sami Okujeto Ablakwa, a member of parliament, member of the committee, asking Kandapa questions about this. I'll show you that Kandapa gave the answers, and then I'll come to the legal matter, because the company actually carried out their threat. They sued in arbitration, asking Ghana for money for the termination. Today, we know that Godfrey Debo Adami, the Attorney General, led his team to overcome the arbitration in a certain way. I'll give you the details first, though, so that you can understand the story. Here is Parliament Appointment Committee hearings 2021. Sami Okujeto Ablakwa is asking questions of Albert Kandapa.
I want to revisit the matter of the Accra Intelligent Traffic Management Project. I hold in my hands a report of the Infrastructure Subcommittee of the 2020 Presidential Team, dated December 29, 2020. Under the road subsector, page 19, item numbered 4.6, critical issues for attention of the sector for the next 100 days. The report states, termination of the agreement between the Ministry of Roads and Highways, represented by the Department of Urban Roads, and Beijing Everyway Traffic and Lighting Technology Company Limited for the Accra Intelligent Traffic Management Project. A contract was signed in 2018 for the project, and 2 interim certificates have been raised, which are yet to be honored. However, through government policy, a new agreement for the same services was signed between the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of National Security, and Huawei Technologies Company Limited, and China National Import and Export Corporation. This narrative appears quite different from what you told the Honorable Mahama Yariga. This is signed by the Honorable Roads Minister, and you do know that it's created some diplomatic concerns, especially as you are now going with Huawei, and you know the challenges Huawei is having in Europe and America. As former Foreign Affairs ranking member, I know that this matter is causing quite some consternation. How are you going to clean this matter up? There's looming judgment debt and all of these diplomatic ramifications. The Roads Minister says within 100 days, this must be cleaned up. Your response, Honorable Minister.
Yes, I'm aware of this controversy. I can also point out to you that it is totally untrue that 2 invoices have issued and is it paid or what, outstanding. You only issue an invoice when you would have started the work. They have not done any work whatsoever. You know, that's what they say. I'm telling you that having studied the program, they have not done any work whatsoever. Honorable member, our position on national security is this, that we are going to spend money to put up the same infrastructure that we have already. I know the concerns from the Ministry of Road and Transport that they should continue to manage the project and put up another infrastructure. I don't see why we should put up another infrastructure when we have it already. Instead, I can use that money to buy additional cameras. We had about 2,000 cameras under the Alpha project when we came. We have recently added some 8,000 or adding some 8,000. The money that they are going to use for the traffic intelligence management system, we can do it for them from the existing infrastructure and then use that money to buy more cameras or other equipment. It's as simple as that. And honorable member, I would want you to get more involved with this case and advise us whether what we are saying is not in the best interest of Ghana. I think it is.
Okay, so the story didn't end there. So you saw that Albert Kandapa was very passionate about the decision that government had made, but it even invited the honorable member from the other side to scrutinize it, to ventilate it. And he assured him that if he does, he'll come to the conclusion that government was right on the matter. Okay, but the litigants were, the affected company was concerned. So they sued in court and they had to contend with this young man here, Godfrey Addo. So what happened when they sued looking for judgment debt? Here is the details of the matter. Let's put the case now. So the case went to arbitration. It was entitled Beijing Everyway Traffic and Lighting Technology Company Limited versus Government of Ghana. All right, so this is the facts of the case. The case concerned an international dispute between an agreement between the government of Ghana and the government of China. The agreement, which was signed in the year 2012, was for the Chinese firm Beijing Everywhere Traffic and Lighting Technology Company Limited to supply Ghana with a traffic management system for the capital city of Accra. It goes on. This specific agreement was in line with the Ghana-China trade agreement signed in 1989, long time. The government of Ghana in the year 2020 cancelled the contract and refused to pay the claimant Beijing Everywhere for the contract. Okay. Now, so after the contract was cancelled, of course, the Beijing Everywhere people then went into arbitration. And it is about the cancellation that the Honorable Ablakwa was asking the Honorable Kandapa about when he was being vetted to become Minister for National Security. So here is what the people sought. So the claimants, as we call them, that's Beijing Everywhere, wanted the government of Ghana to pay not less than $55 million to them for a breach of contract. Claim number 2, the claimant argued that when the government of Ghana cancelled the contract, it incurred a loss, and therefore the government should pay for the loss incurred as well. This is the response of the Attorney General and his team, that the arbitral tribunal was not the appropriate forum for addressing the issue at hand. The right place, the Attorney General said, for settling the dispute was the High Court of the Republic of Ghana, pursuant to the treaty signed between Ghana and China, which served as the basis for which this specific agreement, for the installation of traffic systems. So he was arguing that you cannot sue in arbitration when you have an agreement with Ghana that when there's a dispute, we settle it in the courts of Ghana. And therefore, if you are dissatisfied with what has happened, you have to sue in the High Court of Ghana. You can understand the trepidation of the claimant. Their contract was signed in 2012 with John Mahama's administration, pursuant to a bigger macro administration signed in 1989 with Fly Lieutenant Rawlings, both NDC. They must have felt that because it's MPP, they may not get the rights here and whatever. But the Kandapa made the point clearly that they didn't have a case. But somehow I think people told them that you are political, MPP want to kick you out, go to court. Okay, all right. So they did. Now. So this is the first part of it. The Attorney General argued that the forum was wrong. They should have been in the High Court in Accra. All right. Next, the Attorney General also argued that the claimant had already sued in another tribunal, and therefore they were engaging in the process that lawyers call forum shopping, which actually means that the action by the parties to the dispute where they sue in several courts and hope that one action will be successful. So the legal processes does not appreciate a claimant or a plaintiff who is shopping for court. So he sues the same matter in High Court 1. He goes to Kumasi, sues the same matter. He goes to Takrady and does the same matter. They call it forum shopping. It means you're not confident of your case. So you're just looking for the court that may be sympathetic to you. So Attorney General actually accused them of that they actually do have the same case filed in another court. What are they doing in arbitration? So it's really a technical knockout, isn't it? All right. What else happened? It says that the response of the Attorney General as follows. There's a second one. In this instance, the Attorney General argued that the claimant had abused the due process by engaging in forum shopping. Okay, so he accused them of forum shopping. The Attorney General argued that the rescission of contract was to occasion compliance with prescribed national security measures to occasion the full protection of all Ghanaians. So the Attorney General agrees that there was a cancellation of the contract. But he said that cancellation of the contract was for good reason. It was done pursuant to processes that have been prescribed by national security, because the thing they were coming to do is not so much a roads and highways matter, it's a national security matter. They were providing security for Accra, but they were doing it around the roads. So where a road is, there will be light, a camera. Where a traffic light is, there will be camera. Where there is a gutter, there will be camera, because human beings move on the road. So if you want to capture the movement of human beings, you put those cameras on the roads. So originally it was the roads and highways. The Attorney General is making the argument that there's a national security procedure. When you are doing something about national security, the contract has to sit with the Ministry of National Security. So the Attorney General won the argument over there. This is the holding of the tribunal, by the way. It says, the tribunal held that it was not clothed with the jurisdiction to determine whether or not there had been a breach of the treaty. Their jurisdiction concerned only the determination of the amount of compensation that should be paid. Therefore, the case was thrown out. So the tribunal agreed with the Attorney General that the forum was wrong. They did not have jurisdiction to make that determination. And then China everywhere traffic should be out. What is the good story here? What is the savings that Ghana has made? Typically, the Attorney General's office will not have pursued this case themselves. Typically, they don't do that. Well, this new Attorney General does that, but typically Attorney Generals don't do that. What they do is that they find an arbitration expert that will pay money. Government of Ghana is going to pay the arbitration expert, and then we will go. I'm being told that Godfrey Dame looked at it and said, but why do we need to pay an arbitration? I will do it myself. And then he went to the arbitration panel with his deputy, Dinah, and then also with the Solicitor General, and they argued arbitration. This will be, it doesn't often happen. I mean, in Ghana, it's an arbitration. Always you have, when what do they call it? The GCNC, is that what they are called? The petroleum people who sued us a lot of money. You saw that we hired arbitrators. We go everywhere, we hire arbitrators. I'm being told that when this matter came, the Attorney General said there's no point to hiring it. We are also lawyers, we are competent, we can deal with it. So they went, they dealt with it, saved Ghana 55 million, and then also they save Ghana money for legal fees, because they don't charge any legal fees when they work for Ghana, because they are being paid monthly. Their pay may not be as much as the lawyers would have taken, but that's what he did. The Attorney General decided that, look, I'll do this thing myself. I don't see why I should be a lawyer, and then we go and find money and pay another lawyer and say that he's the arbitration expert. We are all qualified to go to arbitration. Take the books, let's go to the arbitration, let's deal with it. So the only cost that Ghana may have incurred is if there was travel costs that will be incurred. But in terms of paying arbitration, thank you very much, Mr. Attorney General, and more grease to your elbow. Hope that you can win more cases for us. Okay, it's now what's the time now? It's 22 minutes to the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. We are going to begin with our main story, the survey and the story of the parents. Before then, though, I'm guessing that there's some text messages coming. Let me use the text message to prepare the touch screen for the work that we're about to do. Let me go to you, Mikael. What are people saying about what we have so far?
Right, so on the first NPP story, we've got Yusuf Abdul Rahman saying DMB next to lead. I wish you'd have specified whether you're talking about the NPP or the presidency. Adam Salia says the meaning of the agreement between the Ministry of Roads and Highways are presented by the Department of Urban, Routes and Page in Every Way Traffic. I'm not sure this message is coherent. Please come again. Akoto Emmanuel Addo says Dr. Mahama is our man, NPP chairman. Please, has he resigned this position? We don't hear of him in public. He should hold press conferences to refute allegations, as Sama Boatin would have faced them squarely. Now, this is from Godwin Agbeko Akpaji. He says, the Honorable Ejako Boache Tremanting is the hope for the party and the nation going into the 2024 elections. We've got a few messages saying Kennedy Afar, Bamia has got it, and that's it for now. Let's hear from you, Annette.
Okay, so Lady Will says, Godfrey Dummy is the law, and the law is Godfrey Dummy, a Blackwood judgment debt contractor. Musa says he's actually learning something here. Paul, keep up the good work. This is coming from Roga Azure. Mr. Paul, thank you for bringing my mentor, Dr. Osei Kwame Despite. We share the same birthdays together. March Duna, God bless you. Okoto Rasta Mawuli says, good evening, Paul. You are doing a great job. Keep it up. My greetings to OT Regional Chairman Dapa and Chairman Suli Biakorie, Chairman. Raymond Inso Akakeya says, good evening, Paul. Thank God it's Thursday again, and we are privileged to have you and your intellectual team on your program. Continue to use your knowledge to educate us. Dear NPP, limit your consultations and hold primaries for the orphan constituencies early enough. We want to get to work early because we are winning the Karachi West seats come 2024. Alhaji Bob City says, Paul, Assalamu alaikum, and thank God it's Thursday. May the Almighty Allah continue to bless you and your entire team. And to my MP Honorable Eko Vincent Isufua. Paul, concerning the MPP flag bearership and the running mate issue, I suggest that Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe will be a better running mate to any of the flag bearers to be chosen for the NPP. He will pull more Ashanti votes for the party to break the 8, God willing, 2024. Lastly, from so good evening, God is Thursday once again, and continue to use your knowledge to educate us. What do you have for us, Karen?
Okay, so this is from Charles Osei. It says Baumia should be chosen by the delegates to lead the party in 2024 elections. Addo says Mahama is lucky. Here in the US, all ill-gotten cash will be investigated by FBI. The law has no respect for anybody. Writing from US, Ohio. Godwin, it says the Honorable Ejako Boachi Chairman is the hope for the party and the nation going into 2024. Okay. Wafanye says happy birthday to Despite. Felix Apia says, Paul, good evening. Thanks for the good job you are doing. My issue is, why do we allow Ablakwa to always fanfool us? What has he been able to fully prosecute since he started this hate for the government? Papa Paul and your team, we salute you for education on several matters. You are good. From Addo. Okay, over to you.
From Maxwell Intri saying no Dr. Baumia, no votes. From Bismarck Bones to Mensa Cashman, ex-president Mahama think he will not grow now. From Akoto Emmanuel Addo, hey, this man has no shame. I don't blame Mahama. I blame NPP for not prosecuting him for over-invoicing payment of Dubois judgment debts. Bismarck Bones to Mensa Cashman, from Nana Yawa Siedu, please don't talk about the survey, which the source cannot be traced to any physical address, website, email, or telephone number. From Katrina Rostova, the NPP has collapsed every institution in Ghana with a high level of corruption, incompetence, nepotism, and insecurity. I don't think NPP deserves any chance. And lastly, from Felix Apia, Political Zone, Paul, so why is the former president always involved in deals that are always corrupt and controversial? Sikadin Kwan. Over to you, Paul.
Sikadin Kwan is what you're trying to say? Okay. All right. Yes. So thank you very much. We now go on to the next segment. I'd like to begin with President Mahama's video. So President Mahama is complaining about something. Could it be that the Dr. Dufo campaign is now getting to him and his party and his supporters, and so they are responding to it without mentioning Dr. Dufo's name? He said that if you are 80 years old, Dr. Dufo is 78, actually it's not 80, that if you're 80 years old, you shouldn't be thinking about presidency. How old was Reagan when he turned America around? I don't know. You can Google. Please Google quickly. Reagan became American president in 1980 after a big Congress fight with George Bush. He became president of the United States in 1980, and he was president until 1988, 2 terms, and George Bush was beat Dukakis in 88 to become the next Republican leader when he was vice president of the Republic. Reagan was quite old, and there have been a few other people like that. President Mahama says, however, for Africa's age and population, you shouldn't have such an old man like Dr. Dufo wanting to challenge him for president. Here's President Mahama speaking at Chatham House in London.
With regards to democracy, I think that democracy, freedom are universal human values. And even though we might, for our Africanness, try to be protective of ours, I mean, still, when you have a leader who's old and senile, he has no business continuing to be leader. It doesn't matter whether it's Africa or wherever. You know, when you have leaders who, I mean, have problems in terms of thought, you know, they have no business continuing to be in leadership. And especially when you have a population, a continent as youthful as Africa. 60% of the population of Africa is young. And so, I mean, why would you have 80-year-old and 90-year-olds, you know, still, I was going to say they should be home looking after their grandfather, their grandchildren, but I recently became a grandfather myself, so. And so values of democracy are universal, and we need to continue to deepen democracy in the modern world. And so I would say that yes, we're proud of our African heritage, but the values of protecting human rights and freedoms is something that every human being aspires to, and we cannot rule that.
All right, so President Mahama is also telling President Biden, the American president, that Mr. Biden, please don't come for a second term, because by the time Biden wants a second term in 2024, he'll be 81. So Biden, President Mahama says, don't try a second term. President Mahama is doing this apparently because Dr. Dufour's campaign perhaps is getting somewhere. It's getting somewhere with him. Is that why he's doing that? I don't know. Okay, now we are moving into the first story. I'm going to give you the story of the running mates, the vice presidents of Ghana, how they've been chosen. I have a particularly dramatic story to tell you on how Aliu Mahama was chosen in 2000. Very dramatic story. Which includes Dr. Tony Addo in the mix, and Alhaji Major General Joshua Hamidu, who has passed recently. I'll tell you that story. It's part of the running mate situation that we're going to deal with today. And then after that, I'll show you on the touch screen the pairings that are coming in. Send me a text, tell me which pairing for the NDC you think will work and which pairing for the MPP will work. I have to take a commercial break now, because when we come back, we're going full speed. We will not have time to break. So it's time for our commercial break. What's the time now? Oh, sorry. My phone is always buzzing like that. I think it's
my message, may it go CNN. I want to make my message get across the world, because they painted me so black to the extent that even if I'm telling somebody, that's what they call themselves.
so presenters.
Yeah, presenters and some people that call themselves like bloggers and everything. Yeah, we understand you are working.
So like Zion Felix.
Like very nonsense blogger.
I didn't say I don't know.
I'm telling you.
As a candidate for the NPP flag bearership. Now let's interrogate the questions that they are asking. Okay, question number one, what's the demographic makeup of the delegate? So they want to know where the delegate is coming from. All right, what is the level of support for the various viable candidates among the delegates? That's a reasonable question. What will be the effect of ethnicity and religion? Ethnicity is important, but religion is probably there because they want to test the viability of Alhaji Mahama Dubaumia, given that he's from the minority Muslim group. I'm sure that's why that question is there. But let's move on and see what answers they got. Okay, the study was done in all 16 regions of the country. An estimated 197,000 MPP polling station executives were the target population. Polling station executives form the most important constituency as they make up about 90% of the total delegates who would elect the MPP candidate. Okay, let's move on. Next one. Data was obtained between 15th November 2022, that's very significant, and 15th December 2022. So it happened last month or so. We're in February, so 2 months ago. Okay, more than half of the polling station executives who participated in the survey were Akan, 54% Akan, and 46% non-Akan. In terms of religion distribution, it was 78% of them were Christian and 20.6% of them were Muslim. Okay, let's get the details. Ethnic, geographic, or religious background of the candidate did not appear to have a significant effect on the polling station executives' voting preferences. Indeed, 9 out of 10, that is 86.4% of the polling station executives, believe that a candidate's religious affiliation does not matter to them when electing a flag bearer. That's very significant. Is that also your concern? Is that also your position? This is where you have to start sending the text messages in a big way. This is the survey report. After the survey conversation, I'll take text messages. Then I start the running mate issue. Then I start the parents issue by telling you the history of Ghana's running mates. I'm going to make the point that almost every running mate who's been selected is being selected as a surprise to the Ghanaian people. Well, not the total surprise, but sometimes 65 to 70% surprise. I'll show that on the touch screen in some detail. And then after that, I'll go to the parents of this year. What are people saying? Alan Martin, if he wins, who should he have as a running mate to win? If Dr. Baumia wins, who should he have? President Mahama, who should he have? We'll do NDC first, and then we'll do NPP. Then you can chew on it and tell us what you think. Okay, so let's move on this survey. So now this is the survey results. Put that on the screen for them to see, please. Put on the TV. Yeah, great, that's there. Now, so look closely at your television. It's still quite small. For those of us who are old, we can't see it well because our eyes need help. But those of you who are much younger, you can see it from a long distance. When I was younger, I could see this from Tema to Accra. I can see it, but now I can't see it anymore. All right, so look at it. So the blue lines represent vote for Dr. Baumia. It's 16 regions, so that's why it's spread like that. The red lines represent Alan Martin. The yellow line represents Kennedy Japan, and the green line represents undecided. Okay, so I should say bar. Actually, I shouldn't say line. It's a bar. All right. So the blue bar shows in Ahafo region, which is the first, that Alhaji Mahama Dubaumia among polling station executives is doing 68% in Ahafo. Alan Martin is doing 9.3%. Kennedy Japan is doing 6.3%, and undecided is 0.7. Undecided is 15%. Sorry, undecided is 15%. Addo is 0.7. All right. Then you look at Ashanti, which is very significant. Alan Martin among polling station executives at the time this survey was done is doing 24% in red. Alhaji Muhammadu Baumia is doing 52% at the top, and Kennedy Japan is doing 4.9%, and again undecided is doing 16%. I'm bringing out the undecided in green because you see that they are doing significantly well elsewhere. Now let's add all the undecided in Ashanti to Alan Martin, see what we get. Alan Martin is on 24.7, undecided is 16. Can somebody do the calculation for me very quickly? Let's add undecided to Alan Martin in Ashanti and see whether it will assail Dr. Bao. Yes, 52.8%. Very quickly. 14 plus 24.7 plus 16.5. Very, very quickly. Who has it? Say it loud. 41.2. They say 41.2 is coming up. So if you gave undecided to Dr. Alan Martin, my good friend in Ashanti, on his 24, at the time this survey was done, over polling station executive, he still does not assail Dr. Baumia's lead of 52%. Now, if you look at it continuously, in Bono, Dr. Baumia is doing 59%, and Dr. Baumia has a big bar in Northeast, his home region, where he's doing 96.1% of polling station executives from the Nalerugu area in Northeast are thinking about electing Dr. Baumia. Which other region do you want to see? So you can look at the survey. We will put it up on our social media page, on our Facebook page. Tomorrow is Friday. Maybe we are all not that busy, and then you can look at it throughout the weekend. You can interrogate and query it. If you get some significant questions you want to ask us in terms of the credibility of this work, you are very happy to send the questions to us. We would like to see that because we want surveys to be good and strong. So we are just showing it to you. We are by no means endorsing it. We were not there with them, but this is the survey that has been put across. If you have any queries, please send them to us. Let's move on and see what happens. Okay, so from the survey results, these are the three potential winners of the MPP contest, with Dr. Baumia in the very, very strong lead at the polling station level. At the polling station level, Dr. Baumia has taken a particularly strong lead, and this is Alhaji Baumia, Alan Chamate, and Kennedy Japan. The three of them cannot be on the MPP ticket, but two of them can be on the MPP ticket. Who could that to be? Wait for our conversation on the parents, and then you get it. Okay, so the most preferred candidate for the MPP's flag bearer position among among polling station executives is Dr. Alhaji Mahama Baumia. He's leading in all 16 regions. The closest contenders to Dr. Baumia are Mr. Alan Martin and Mr. Kennedy Japan, respectively. Alhaji Mahama Baumia is doing 62% on all polling stations from this survey. Alan Martin is doing 18%. Kennedy Japan is doing 5.5%. Kwabene Japan is doing 0.3%, and undecided is 12%. Other, including Usefria Koto, does it include him? I don't know. Including others, is 1.3%. Okay. Now, so this is the final results of the survey put across, and Alhaji Muhammadu Baumia is coming up tall. They say religion is not that important. I don't know whether religion is important for you, but yes. We are now ready to take our text messages from people who have been looking at this. Before we get to the running mate story at 10 o'clock, this is Good Evening Ghana and it's live. Do you have some messages on this one? Let me start with you, Mikhail. What are people saying?
So, this is from Ajiman Griezmann. He says, Napo is a constant that Ghana needs. His record at the Education and Energy Ministry is enviable, and he needs to have a higher set cabinet come 2025. Now, Michelangelo Saba... this is from Bra George. He says DMB and Ken. Lord Derek says Ken and Ursula, great combo for the NPP. And Shraba says Allen or Boniface is the surest bet for 2024. Yakubu Jr. says DMB and Napo are a solid team to comfortably break the 8. This is from Citizen Joe in Laguna Stredo. He says Baumia Teke plus any youthful Ashanti person. And lastly, Tofik from Kete Krachi says, good evening, Paul. The only bet that could win the 2024 elections for the NPP is the economy, not Allen or Baumia. And lastly, Master Planner Jr. says Ghana will soon be one of the best countries on earth. Okay, Dr. Baumia, the digital man, is coming to take Ghana to the promised land. Greetings to Honorable Ninoy Noti of Koliklote. Very optimistic message. Let's hear from you, Annette.
Okay, so coming from Opei Muwoyomoy, he says, on the ticket of running mate, I think that Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe would be a perfect match of pair with Dr. Mahomedu Baumia. And then Sibawa Bawa says, as espoused by John C. Maxwell, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Dr. Mahomedu Baumia has over the years proven his mettle to be the bright star, the elephant family. Greetings to Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe Napo and Nana Matima Boache. Kaya Yoba Ifya Baron says, if we want a goal-oriented person, one who can bridge the gap between government and the people, we should look no further than Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe, for he is the man. Napo is a track holder. Check his records at Education Ministry and Energy Ministry. Also coming from Gastiman, he says, does the former president Mahama really understand the implications of what he said about his personality? His founder that he's benefiting from today was in his 30s when he assumed power, but what did he do? Mahama must expand his horizon as an elderly man because he is no longer young anymore. Jack Mason says every nation needs a Napo. He is a workaholic and an intelligent man Ghana needs. My bet is on Napo come 2024. More is coming from Hamdan Abubakar. Dr. Mahomed Baumia and Dr. Matthew Puku Prempe would be a perfect match and can win the 2024 elections for the NPP. Alan Tremantin is NPP's candidate in waiting. 2024 is Alan versus Mahama. This is coming from Odikro Nana Kobena Atta. Katarina Rostafa thinks that JDM and Nana Jane can defeat anyone from the NPP. Kwame Ju thinks that Alan Tremantin paired with anyone at all will win. Kweku Dennis thinks you always need a versatile and a thinking running mate who will add something to the ticket. Therefore, let's do Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe. Karen, what are people saying?
Okay, so this is from Mustafa. He says, good evening, Paul. NPP communication is dying. Our leaders should come to our aid. The Adidija is killing the spirit of the communicators. This is from Lily Wu. Say, Mahama talking about age. Please keep this video. So when we bring Baumia and he talks, then we play this video for him. Kwame Ju says, Paul, just like the info analytics team avail themselves after their post, wouldn't it be nice if the people behind this survey avail themselves for questioning too? Haji Abreu says Napo should be the only non-economist to enter the Jubilee House with his diverse knowledge on a developmental issue. Lastly, from Kwame Judy says any survey that puts Alhaji Baumia ahead of Alan is even voter region is laughable. Over to you.
From Silverway Bauer, even though I don't believe in the politics of religiosity, but as far as 2025 is concerned, NPP should respectfully break the eight with Napo and be the first Christian to be the vice president from the NPP tradition. From Opemu Woyome, regardless of the number, mode, method, or findings of surveys or researches undertaken, His Excellency Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia should emerge as the flag bearer of the party and ultimately the next president of the Republic. From Roger Azuri, Mr. Paul, Dr. Bawumia and Dr. Matt Opoku, the alternative, Doctor and Doctor all the way. Sibawe Bawa, Bawumia Napo 2024. And lastly, from Kwame Jude, Paul, can you please get the people behind the survey and interview them?
I think that's a reasonable request. We're going to get the people behind the survey and interview them. I think that's very reasonable. I want to hear it as well and understand how they came to their conclusion. Now, though, we get into the beginning of the full story where we're going to discuss the running mates issues after we finish with the survey. But before we do that, I like to give you an interlude, shouldn't we? I like to give you an interlude. Now, the interlude is a story from Metro TV. My favorite reporter here at Metro is a lady called Eugenia. Eugenia works at the presidency and she put up this story. Now, pay attention to the story, viewers, but the part I want you to pay attention to is when the ladies appeared. I'm saying ladies, so just focus on it. When the ladies appeared on the screen and President Akufo appeared to be saying, hey! And Eugenia appears to have caught the president's ad-libbing and also said in her story, hey! What were the ladies doing that made President Akufo say this? Hey, this happened in Burma camp yesterday. This is Eugenia from Metro TV Newsroom. Beautiful story. It's a real classic journalist, news reporter story. I just love those things when I see them. Eugenia, congratulations. I owe you a phone. Another phone. Okay. All right. Eugenia just got married and she's doing very, very well. Even after when she was getting married, we were worried that she gets married and she'll say, I'm not coming to work. Eugenia is still working very, very hard for the company. Here's her story from yesterday.
When the sun and it's on, can't stop till it's done. Sikatana mepo, a brand siamas way, secret smile. That big one, secret smile.
His entry was spectacular. As the regimental band gave off their sound, his voice reverberated in the crowd, and he got heads turning like the soldier he is.
Oh, soldier, stand and preach your chest to the come, when I'm not sure. Don't let it touch the skin.
Of course, his black sheriff, the reigning hitmaker. He performed his back-to-back hit songs from Second Sermon to Konongozongo and kept the military men and women on their feet from start to finish. A handshake from President Akufo, who beamed with smiles throughout Blacko's performance, signaled approval from the first gentleman of the land. Soon after Black Sheriff's performance, these ladies took center stage. They didn't come to play. The look on the president's face says it all. Hey! Obviously, the 2022 Wasa will linger in the minds of these officers for a very long time. Took center stage.
Sikuma didn't like that system. He wanted a system that has predictability. He knows that there will be election every 4 years, and so we amended the constitution and chose the American-style presidential system constitution in 1960. Okay, so the next election was due in 1964, isn't it? Nkrumah cancelled that election, and then we became a one-party state, such that the CPP and Nkrumah will be the only people in power for a long time, and all Ghanaians were supposed to join the CPP with the African unity agenda. So in 1969, when we returned to constitutional rule, we repeated the British parliamentary system. A lot of the people who controlled the 69 affairs had been educated in Britain. Edward Akufo, the president's father, his friends, William Oforiatta, Samuel Kujeto, and all of them had been educated in Britain. So they, Buzia, the prime minister, so they liked the British system. They continued in 1969. So Buzia was elected prime minister, and Edward Akufo was elected president. Okay, so that system was overthrown by a Champon's government in 1972, and then came 1979 elections. That's the first time we decided that we are going to have an elections on the presidential system, and so we needed a vice president. De Graaf Johnson here was elected by the PNP people to be the vice president of Dr. Liman. So Dr. Liman actually had a very little role in choosing his own running mate, because running mate was elected at that time. We decided that we will not do that again. We will not elect running mates again. So that was the first. This man is the first vice president ever in Ghana. Nice, decent looking, fancy man, De Graaf Johnson. All right. The next vice president was it was Kenson Aka, because he was the vice president in 1992, and in 1996 he was running mate. Okay, so the story here is that running mate gets chosen by surprise. All right, so this was the first one. He was elected. This was the John Kufuor's running mate, which was a big story. Aka had been chosen as a surprise to the Rawlings ticket in 1992, because Rawlings had initially wanted to run with a guy called Reverend Kweku Boateng. Now, Reverend Kweku Boateng is the father of Paul Boateng, the British politician. He calls himself Paul Boateng. You have to understand him. That's how the people where he grew with, that's how they pronounce his name, Boateng. So if you go to London, I've seen him so many times. I can't call him a friend, but I know him. And so I see him and I call him Paul Boateng. He accepts, Boateng he accepts, and he will smile. Very nice man. He was the first black person to become the first secretary of the Treasury, which means Deputy Minister of Finance in England. Edward Boateng became the first secretary of the Treasury in 1997 when Tony Blair was elected by a landslide. So his father, Reverend Kweku Boateng, was the person Flight Lieutenant Rawlings wanted to choose as running mate in 1992. Reverend Boateng, who was coming from the CPP stock, the NDC was trying to create they and CPP as one party, which was the brainchild of Kojo Chikata and others. So they said to Jerry, you have to take a running mate from the CPP. Reverend Kweku Boateng is a stalwart of the CPP. Kweku Boateng said he won't do it. But Mr. Rawlings and his family, I mean Mrs. Rawlings and the rest, they knew Kenson Aka. So they went to Aka. Aka is also a CPP man, but Aka is more corporate than political, but he is CPP. And so Aka was chosen. Oh, Aka left. Can you put it back, please, very quickly, and then we can go on with the story. So Kenson Aka became the running mate of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings in a surprise manner. The argument of this this story is that running mates often come as a surprise. We don't know what's going to happen now. Okay, so we're still waiting for them to put back Kenson Aka on the screen at 14 minutes past the top of the hour, 10 o'clock, and then we'll continue with a bit. This is Good Evening Ghana is live. I'm still thinking about the story that Eugenia made where the president said, hey, I'm still thinking about that. Okay, De Graaf Johnson is gone. Thank you. Kenson Aka is here. Then in 1990, Kenson Aka, president in what was the most the most interesting situation. Akar was a certain vice president. He had lost his relationship with the president, J.J. Rawlings. It is reported that Rawlings had heckled him at a meeting, and Akar was very upset. The NDC party decided to go for another running mate. Again, another surprise. Professor Mills was chosen in very hurried circumstances, and we showed you that video already. Kwame Naho's testimony. So they chose Mills, surprise, and then Akufo was asked by Alhaji Banda, who is not been too well. I think he's recovering. God help Alhaji Banda. We pray with him for speedy recovery. I think he's recovering now. Alhaji Banda was the chairman of the CPP at the time, and his influence on Akufo with what they call the Great Alliance, the MPP uniting with the CPP, became the Great Alliance, and then Konkan Sanaka, the certain vice president, became the running mate of the opposition. So on voting day, he voted as vice president for himself and J. Akufo when Professor Mills was a candidate of the president. So the president was in one party, the vice president was in another party. That's what happened in 1996 election. History is important. We are returning it to our curricula so that when I talk this history, people don't look at me and say, oh, is that so? Everyone would have learned it in JSS and SSS. Very soon, that's happening. But that's the history of our country. So this is a surprise pick, isn't it? All right, let's move on to 2000. Okay, I have Joshua Hamidu here. This is General Joshua Hamidu. I'm going to tell you a story about how 2000's running mate was picked. All right, this story involves three men, okay? The first one is Joshua Hamidu, General Joshua, very distinguished army officer. Joshua Hamidu was the one who held the military forces together in 1979. If Joshua Hamidu was not there in 79, the other ranks of the army would have killed every officer. They said they are going to kill every officer and they are going to kill every businessman. If you read Professor Ben is there, the soldiers said they will kill every businessman. Because Aluta Continua and the power to the people, and that they were led by J.J. Rawlings. Okay, Hamidu it was who stabilized the situation a little bit. He was a general at the time, very good guy. So he had fallen out with Rawlings and went abroad. He had kept his relationship with Akufo, and I believe that he had known Buzia and all of that. He had a lot of confidence in General Joshua Hamidu. Okay, so it was pretty obvious that General Hamidu was going to be the running mate of J. Akufo. That was pretty obvious. It was there. It was happening. It was going to happen. The story I'm telling you today happens on a Friday morning, sometime in the middle of 2000. I, as a common reporter, am sitting down waiting for the front page program, which started at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings and was led by my man, Kweku Sechiado. Now, so this story is about Kweku Sechiado, Tony Edu, and Joshua Hamidu. That's the story I'm going to tell you. It's a very interesting story. Kweku Sechiado, host of Joy FM's front page, journalist, global journalist. At that time, Kweku was also reporting for CNN and BBC. And Tony Edu was Minister for Defense under the Rawlings administration, actually Deputy Minister for Defense, but a very powerful deputy. And Joshua Hamidu was in contention to become Kufuor's running mate for election 2000. These three men, the two gentlemen, appeared on Kweku Sechado's front page program. Huge radio political program. Huge. Very, very huge. Okay. And so I was there as a reporter and Tony Edu came in. So our work is just to make sure that everything is fine and all of that. So I knew him. Tony Edu and I had a lot of conversations together. One of the most respected brains in Ghana is Tony Edu. I have to say that. I've engaged with him several times. When he used to live at the Ridge Roundabout, I'll go there, sit with him and talk. That time he was Deputy Defense Minister. I'll go to his office. I had a lot of conversations with Tony Edu. And he's a great brain. So on that day, when he arrived, he saw me. He said, Paul, you are here. I said, yeah, boss, I'm here. He said, today I'm going to release a bombshell. Tony Edu was like that. 20 minutes. I am going to take the 20 minutes. If he speaks 20 minutes, I speak 20 minutes. So Chado said, that's fine, no problem, Tony. Calm down. You'll be okay. Calm down. Hamidu spoke impeccable English, I have to say. And so he had done his rendition of, I don't remember what it was, but it was an introductory remark. But he spoke for that long, 25 minutes or so. 25 minutes on radio is very, very long. Let's see what's next. No, I need Akufo and Aliyu Mahama. I think they didn't do it. They didn't have it. If you can quickly do Akufo and Aliyu Mahama, I'll appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll go on. So that's the story. So Akufo then had to choose somebody else. So I'm coming back to how these things always come as a surprise. Running mate is always a surprise. It's never really what people were thinking. And so when I get to the pairings, I'll pull you some surprises tonight, and I'm sure that you have a wide open mouth. Okay. Some forces in the MPP thought that Ghana was not ready for a woman, and that if Akufo has to win this election, he doesn't have to significantly shake the status quo and the foundations of our political thought. This bringing woman as vice president is going to, You don't need that. That's what Kojon Penim and Co were telling him. You don't know Bechebelam and Co were telling Akufo. You don't need that. So, Hawaii Akubu got dropped. Aliu has to continue the search. So one day, Aliu comes with another list. Akufo says, Alaji, put the paper down. What about you? I understand that Aliu looked behind him. And there was Kufuor's sitting room is like the airport residential area house. It's a huge sitting room like that. Aliu looked behind him, and Kufuor said, I say you. He said, oh, but me, I'm a businessman contractor. No, man. He said, but where we are, think about it. And that's how you got J. Kufuor and Alhaji Aliu Mahama ticket. So this is the story about, so running mate all the time comes as a surprise. Let's move on. I'll show you more surprises. Where's the running? Okay, no, so they get back. Thank you very much. John Mahama in 2008 and Professor J. Mills. Okay, John Mahama was never on the ticket of was never on the cards of Professor Mills. Professor Mills had a firm view, and he was very strong on his views. Professor Mills, he said to the NDC people, I had gone to election 2004 with I'd gone to election 2000 with that's another surprise, Martin Amidu. Complete total surprise. Nobody expected it. Professor Mills came and named Martin Amidu as his running mate. Okay, they didn't win. In 2004, Professor Mills had Mohammed Mumuni. Not altogether surprising, but he had him. And the Mills told the NDC people in 2006 that I went to 2004 with Mohammed Mumuni. I'm a Christian from the southeast, Muslim from the north, which is what you people say we should do. Now, we all believe that we won the 2004 elections. We actually went to court. Rojo Metal Nunu went to court. That election had been won by Professor Mills. Mills says, if we won the election, why should I drop Mumuni? I'm going again. I'm going with Mumuni. What's the problem? Mills was strong on his views like that. So that became a problem, and the conversations went round. We've showed you a video here before. Even on the day when Professor Mills had to announce his running mate, so much was the tension that he couldn't show up at the event venue. He was afraid because J.J. Rawlings and his team were going to the event venue to stop Mills from announcing a name they didn't like. Other forces were at the Kama Conference Center ready to prevent Mills from giving out a name they didn't like because they had heard that he was thinking about John Dramani Mahama. In fact, the story is told that J.J. Rawlings had gone to John Mahama's house twice to see him, to tell him not to do the running mate, but that he should allow Betty Mould Idrisu to do it. So Betty Mould was a candidate for Mr. Rawlings and Mrs. Rawlings. John Mahama was a complete outsider. He was not part of this conversation. At that time, John Mahama was about to be selected as the head of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Union with his office in London. He was preparing to leave. I know that. Many people, well, some people know that. John Mahama was preparing to leave, has been elected as the head of Commonwealth Parliament. And so he was going to go to London. But a few people told Professor Mills that if you have to win this election, it ought not to be just about you, because everybody knows you. You have to have that candidate that has the wow factor, the oomph, the thing. You have to have someone who has a thing. And if we look at NDC right now, look at John Mahama. He's wearing T-shirt number 2 in it. All the young people like him, and that's what you need. Professor Mills, you have to have that. So Mills reluctantly agreed with the experts that you needed John Mahama. So now come and announce John Mahama. He didn't go. He couldn't show up. Maybe find the video for you. Elvis Efrie Ankra is the one who was given the thing to announce. So journalists got to the event. The event had ended. The event that we thought was going to take an hour, it took 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute. So everybody goes to Professor Mills hasn't arrived. So in fact, I called my reporter. They say, yes, Professor Mills he hasn't come. I said, okay, let's relax. Then the reporter goes, hey, boss. That time was 2000 what? This is before 2008. So 2006, 7, I started City FM. Yes, so I think it was City. So he called me and said, boss, they've done the announcement to it's John Mahama. I said, wow, it's John Mahama. I said, yes. I said, but why didn't you tell me when Mills arrived? Because I told him that when Mills arrives, call me so that I'll come there or I'll do something. I needed to know that Mills has arrived. He didn't call me, and he said the announcement is. I said, Professor Mills didn't come. I said, what are you talking about? He said, no, he didn't come. I said, who is there? He said, Rawlings is here. I said, so who made the announcement? He said, Elvis Efrie Ankra. I said, wait, I don't understand. He said, yeah, boss, that's what happened. Professor Mills didn't come. I said, so he's not there. He said, no, he's not there. Fancy with him. I said, Uncle, that running mate, then. I said, what's happening? He said, brother, Befi. He lives in Laboni. So I went there. He said, Paul, where were you? I said, where? Was that my park with him, Misata? I said, are you serious? He said, yes, I'm telling you. Quickly, I called my reporter that find profile, back with him, Misata, find. They said, boss, why? I said, find it, hurry up, find it. They said, he's a governor of the Bank of Ghana. I said, oh no, go beyond Bank of Ghana, go to his days at Legon, go to Infants, find a lot of information. Then I was told by the person I was talking to that, because he heard me tell the reporter, I said, call Nana Butler. I said, oh, Nana Butler knows. He said, call Nana Butler. I called Nana Butler. He started laughing. He said, Paul, I know why you're calling me. I said, Nana, you are home? I said, yes, I'm coming. Straight. He's still in Lamoni. So I went to Nana Butler. He said, so what do you want? I said, tell me. They said, the man is your man. He said, oh, yeah, he's my man. I said, so tell, but has it been announced? I said, no, it hasn't. I'm just hearing it from your friend. So that's how I got the story. So Parkway C2 was completely new. In fact, I found myself writing an article in the Graphic, one that I'll show to you, entitled, will J.H. Mensah and Attorney General revisited? Will Parliament vet the Vice President? To vet or not to vet the Vice President nominee, J.H. Mensah and Attorney General revisited. It's in the Graphic. I published that in the Graphic. And then Joy FM interviewed me about it. Haruna Idrisu and Alex Segbefia spoke with me on the Joy Morning Show about the article and whether eventually President Mahama decided that Park with Mr. should appear before Parliament's Appointments Committee. That's the precedent we have in Ghana of a Vice President appointed as opposed to a Vice President elected. So Park was appointed by President Mahama. He appeared before Parliament's Appointments Committee. They passed him and he was sworn in as Vice President. That's the other outlier. Okay, let's see what else we have. John Mahama and Jena Nopokwajima. Totally surprising. Nobody was expecting it. But it happened. For lack of time, let me move on. And this one was a big one. Now, in this particular instance, Nana Akufo had actually already selected our ambassador in America these days, Honorable Hajia Alima Mahama. Hajia Alima Mahama had been selected by Nana Akufo and announced to the National Executive. And guess what? National Executive said no. That one too, I have a story. Early in the morning, somebody called me. I think it was Kwabini Japan or so. Said, are you awake? I said, yeah. He said, what's Asamaba? I said, no. He said, well, your father has nominated Alima Mahama. I said, oh, but that's interesting. He said, interesting. Everybody is against it. I said, so what's happening? I quickly look on my phone, try to reach Gabi Ochidako, try to reach the people around him, Obechebilamte and others. I don't remember what happened. I rushed to the president's home. At that time, he was living in East Legon. I got there, Hakman, Uswajima was there, Osafo Mafo, everybody was there. Everybody concerned, a lot of noise. Then we saw some group of women, led by Victor Newman's wife, came there. There's a lot of noise in the East Legon. And Akufo was totally distraught. And he was saying that, what's the problem? I mean, Naja Alima. Then eventually I heard that BJ Darocha, at that time he was alive, had called Akufo to come and see him. So I knew Darocha had a lot of conversations with him with this news reporting. So I drove to IEA, where Darocha was, IEA on Independence Avenue. I went to see him, I knew him. He said, hey Paul, how are you? How's law school? I said, it's fine. He said, what do you want? I said, I understand. You have called for a meeting with the foreign minister. At that time, he was ex-foreign minister, actually. He said, yes. I heard that he had made a choice for running mate. I wanted to discuss with him. I said, but the discussion you're going to have with him is about what? He looked at me and said, but I cannot tell you the discussion I'm going to have with the flag bearer. I said, okay, I get it. So I will wait. What time? He said he's not sure. He just asked for him. He doesn't know what time he's going to come. It turned out eventually that the meeting between President Akufo-Addo, or candidate Akufo-Addo as he then was, and BJ Darocha, the legal colossus, ended with the point that Akufo-Addo accepted to change Hajia Alima Mahama and have another running mate. Okay, so the party relaxed and then campaign and jostling began. At that time, I was supporting my friend Alhaji Nuruddin Jawula, may he rest in eternal peace. Alhaji Jawula was my man. So I went to Alhaji. I said, Alhaji, the thing, how are we going to do that? So Alhaji gave me his profile and all that. We talked about it. I just liked Alhaji. I loved him because of football and how he just, carried himself. Alhaji was a great guy. Okay, so Alhaji was my candidate and the eventual announcement came and it was Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia. I remember one person told me something. I can't mention him now because of the role he plays these days. He called me and said, Paulus, this choice is divine. I said, barrister, are you sure? He said, Paulus, this is divine. I said, senior, are you sure? He said, I can't mention him now because the Supreme Court judge. I can't mention him now. But he told me that this is divine, Paulus, this is divine. Everybody calls me Paulo, so if you're trying to see who it was, everybody calls me Paulo. So it's not the one you are thinking, but it's another person. So that was and then we all gathered at Laboni. Again, Laboni is quite significant for these things. We gathered at Laboni, where Alhaji Mahama Baumia used to live in the Bank of Ghana bungalow. Those of you who know Laboni well, the place where it's now Fairway, very close to what Alisa Hotel, the left-hand side, there's a very different kind of structure there. It was Dr. Baumia's home as the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. So we all went there, and the first person I remember seeing was Kanatifa, who is now with NI. He's very close to Dr. Baumia. He was his best man at his wedding and all of that. Then Tifa was all smiles, and I said, "Hey dog, this is good." He said, "This is fantastic." So then all of that began. So Dr. Beyonce, labels. You know, he was my boss at the beginning, and we worked together on this. Brazil is a walking encyclopedia of Ghanaian politics. I mean, I saw a text message say that if I am, Brazil is bigger. Yeah. And he worked at research, and now he's deputy chief of staff. So he writes this to me. He says, "Bro, but you forget Dr. Baumia, it was Victor Newman, upon Victor Newman's instructions, that Akufo Addo told me, myself, Sam Ellis, and Anthony Kabu to go and persuade Dr. Baumia to come. We did this on the blind side of everybody, including the president's family. In fact, Kabu has said this on Joy FM a couple of years ago. So, first choice, my friend, Honorable Do Ajao, who was former Speaker of Parliament and public conception basis. So tell to you that the other policeman. But they are saying that if John Mahama insists on going to Central Region, because of the circumstances in the country right now, it shouldn't be Jenano Bokwajaman. It should be give me case Latu Forsen. It should be case Latu Forsen. Now, those people who are saying this are saying that Asiedun Ketia is behind this move. So they are presenting case Latu Forsen as the minority leader, and then they will catapult him into the presidential running mate slot for John Dramani Mahama. Because if you want Fanti, Case Latu Forsen is stronger in making the argument about the economy, and they want to sort of position him as a Dr. Baumia kind of thing, some economic messiah. I mean, everybody likes Dr. Baumia's turnout from 2014, 15, 16, from the court in 13, so he's become sort of the template, so they all want to kind of fit in. So they are presenting a Case Latu Forsen as some kind of Dr. Baumia who can give you a lot of votes if you can let him lead. So present him first as minority leader, let him build it up, and let him build it up to a crescendo, and at the time of the crescendo, you release him onto the presidential ticket. So that's John Mahama's advice. Do they have the policeman? They don't have the other policeman. Can they tell you quickly, floor manager, do they have the
Sharif, the rain.
Ango Savannah says, "Good evening, Paul. The surest bet for the NPP is Alhaj Dr. Mahmoud Baumia and Napo. Take it to break the 8. Religion doesn't matter here, but competency is key." Rifat Hussein Gunu says, "All in all, through and through, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia is in a strong, comfortable lead." Oh, okay. Majority of the delegates are resolved to make him the next leader so as to break the 8. Now, this says, "Good evening, cast and crew. I'm enjoying from Dallas, Texas. When I finished school, I moved to Ghana, and as a young man, I plan on voting for Ajipong. I respect how honest he is in his beliefs. He does not soften his words, and we need a strong, no-nonsense leader. It reminds me of how Trump was here a couple of years ago." Tofik from Kitty Krachi says, "I agree with those who say religion does not matter to them in the NPP contest, but integrity and competence." And lastly, this is from the University of Ghana Valco Hostel. It says, "Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ajipong and Honorable Brian Champong, perfect combination to break the 8. This is from Obing Roxon. He says he's the former TESCON president of the University of Ghana Accra City campus. And lastly, John says, "If Mahama chooses a Voltairean, he loses all the account votes." John, I'd like to know why you believe that. Let's hear from you, Annette.
Okay, so coming from Knee Rock, he says that, "I think the summary of Paul's touchscreen analysis is that the biggest concern of the NDC is MPP fielding a candidate who emanates from Ashanti region on the ticket of NPP to erase the NDC's effort in the north. NPP must take this cue. Into history will surely be DNP and NAPO. Ghana is a serious country, and we don't need leaders who eventually become lords over citizens. Alan Tremantin is honest and not greedy. Alan is a unifier. Alan is full of integrity. Alan is visionary. Alan is born to lead. Alan John Kweju Tremantin will bring opportunities. Ghana will prosper under Alan. This is coming from Berima Kweju Jan Ku. Nana Bonsu Treachery said, undoubtedly, breaking the 8 can be realized with economic prowess of Dr. Baumia. Technologically, the world is moving so fast that with him, the country shall move forward. In pursuance of such a great thinker who even in crisis can weather through the storm should be a running mate, and none other than Napo can be a perfect match for him. The grassroots hails this fantastic and hardworking personality to lead and break the 8 for the elephant fraternity. They have been tested before and they have successfully passed. Baumia and Napo is the absolute and best pair. Lastly, from Kwame Jude, Chief Alan as at the head of the ticket paired with anyone will be the better ticket than any other supposed parents. What do you have for us, Karen?
Thank you. But before I begin, Paul, in fact, myself, I've learned a lot from you today. How do you do it? I can't wait for next week. So this is from Abdul Hamidu. He says, hey, the president has the right to have made the comments, Mr. Paul. From Nana Apia, he says, hey, dear, isn't my president afraid of these? Eric Kofi says, breaking the A. And from Vodi Jr., he says, when it comes to history, Paul, be top notch. Gertrude, Paul, you are genius. Why? Too much learning from you. Mohammed Buhari says, Paul, you just got me going. Wow. You are just fantastic in your delivery. Very informative and educative. Ofori says, I'm naming my first son Paul. You are epitome of wisdom and knowledge. And lastly, from Usman Citizen, he said, Chief Historian Paul, you are too much. Great learning from you. Paul, I think we are waiting for your history book. Over to you.
Thank you. From Tichi Ebenezer, Alan is more appealing to the people than any of the aspirants, and he's the only person who can break the 8. From Hiroshima Guy, Apostle Paul is a gem in the journalism industry. He must be instituted, and ideologies of political journalism learnt at all costs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Addo Otri Institute of Political Journalism. Tiche Ebenezer is also saying that Alan will win his primaries regardless. From Victoria Abigail Bafo, in 2024 we'll be bringing doctors to the table. We need the best brains to run the country. Baumia and Napo, best pair.
And I'm hoping that both of them will win. Okay, viewers, it's been a delight bringing Good Evening Ghana to you for this week. Hopefully we'll be back again with our inspiration from Aristotle and Plato. We'd like to end, Kofi, hold on, we'd like to end with a montage of an